Okay, so who has Zoomed lately? Anybody done a Zoom call in the recent few weeks? I never heard of Zoom until recently, and I think I'm on a Zoom call every single day, at least one. So I thought I'd pop on here today and talk a little bit about the do's and don'ts of Zoom that I have learned the hard way. For those of you that don't know, my name is Sonia Bush. I'm a realtor with Mammoth Village Properties in beautiful Mammoth Lakes, California. And this isn't real estate related, but it is life related. And I thought I'd share my hard learned lessons. There are some do's and don'ts. I have, I think, 5 of each, 5 do's and 5 don'ts. So let's get started. The first do is to have your Zoom call in a quiet place. Oh my gosh, I've been on some Zoom calls and people have had kids arguing in the background. They have had loud TVs on. One person, I don't know where they were, somewhere across the country where they could be inside of us, like a coffee shop. I'm like, I thought we were supposed to be, I don't know, maybe their state you can do it, but it was so loud, it's very distracting. So the first do is to make sure that you set up in a quiet space. The second is to check your background. So you see behind me, I've got a closet door, kind of a clean wall, maybe one picture. I have been in some Zoom calls where it's an absolute, like they're in their kitchen and I see all their dishes and it's not a pretty sight. I'm not even paying attention to the people because I'm looking, at their spices and all their stuff on the counters. So make sure you're aware of your space. Number 3 is to make sure that your light source is in front of you, not behind you. So I'm doing this now. I've got a window over here on this side, and I've got a window behind the camera, but behind me is nothing. Some people set themselves up where there's a window behind them, and they're so backlit you can't see their face. So if you can just, switch to the other side of your desk or the other side of your dining room table and make sure that the windows are in front of you or on the side, and not behind you because you can't even see the person's face. The 4th thing is to mute yourself when you're not talking. There's a little button in the corner when you're on Zoom and you can mute yourself. So the reason you do this is you don't hear a lot of background noise, dogs barking, the things I referenced earlier. So make sure that you mute yourself when you're not talking. And number 5 of the do's for Zoom is check your appearance. I don't care what you look like from the waist down, but from the waist up, come on. This might be your first impression. I was on a Zoom call yesterday with some folks I'd never met before. They were actually interviewing me for a business project they have. They wanted some input. And they looked like they just rolled out of bed. So it didn't give me a good first impression on how they might run their business. So I know we're not supposed to judge and all of that, but first impressions, you only have one chance to make a first impression. So again, your do's are set up in a quiet space, check your background, make sure the light source is in front of you, mute yourself when you're not talking, and check your appearance from the waist up. Now let's move to the 5 don'ts. Don't be distracted. Absolutely don't be distracted. Hi, Kathleen. How are you today? Don't be distracted because what happens when you're distracted, like just now, I was distracted and said hi to Kathleen. You lose your train of thought and so does your audience. I was on a Zoom call the other day. My husband was on the Zoom call and he was on his iPad. I'm like, are you kidding me? Pay attention to the person that's talking. So if it's something that you wouldn't do in a face-to-face meeting, don't do it there. Don't scroll through Instagram. Don't be on your iPad. Don't be rearranging your desk drawers. Just don't do it. Don't be distracted. Number 2 is, I guess, it's kind of a counter to what I said on the do sign. The number 2 don't is not have any background noise. Again, I can't emphasize it enough. I was on a call the other day, and I'm serious. I think they were watching Days of Our Lives. Because I heard this whole drama in the background. Somebody was cheating on somebody. I mean, seriously. Very distracting, and we couldn't hold our thought on the content. Number 3, make sure if you're going to share your screen, don't have a lot of other screens open. The other day, I'm not making any of this up. This is all first-hand experience. The other day, somebody went to share their screen and their text messages were on their screen. And all I can say is that he and his wife had plans later in the day. So do not close all the screens before you share, because they're going to see everything. They're going to see your browser if you have a bunch of stuff open. So shut it all down before you share your screen. Number 4 of the don'ts is don't promote your Zoom call on public forums. So send personal invites that require a password or a username, because you don't want anyone just popping in on your call. You don't want them to be listening in. And so this is a privacy concern. You might have seen it a lot on the internet lately, but definitely don't promote your Zoom call on a public forum. And the number 5 tip for things you should not do in Zoom is eat. Do not eat. Would you eat in a meeting? Well, maybe you would if everybody else was eating. You can take a drink. Trying to get my 5 bottles of these in a day. That's a lot. You can drink, but just don't eat. So again, your top 5 don'ts. Don't be distracted. Don't have background noise. Don't have multiple screens open if you're going to, or multiple windows if you're going to share your screen. Don't promote your Zoom call on a public forum, and don't eat. Those are Sonia's top tips for do's and don'ts in today's Zoom environment. As a side note to that, hi Brian. As a side note to that, I'm wondering if going forward people are going to want to Zoom meet more often. I'm not really thrilled about the idea. Sometimes I don't want to do my hair and my makeup. Maybe I'm working at home in the morning. I feel like I have to be Zoom ready all the time. I never know when someone's going to Zoom. So if it can be done on a phone call, we can still do it on a phone call. There are advantages to Zoom and there are disadvantages. But if you follow my tips for do's and don'ts, you'll be on track. If you have something you want to add, I'd love to hear it, especially if it's a real experience. And again, all of these things I'm sharing with you happened. They've all happened in the last 2 weeks. So jot your comment down below on your tip on what to do or don't on Zoom. Have a great day, and until next time, Sonia out.